Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO Mobility Mojo, Stephen Cluskey.
There was a pedestrian bridge built in Venice a few years back by one of the most famous architectural firms in the world. A stunning bridge which took years of development. But when it was opened, it became obvious that there was a serious problem. Can anyone tell what's wrong with this photograph? So you might notice, you see the little steps all the way across? A fairly insignificant detail maybe, but this little detail had huge ramifications. People kept tripping on them. Younger people, older people, and especially those with poor eyesight kept falling. So to try to address this, the council placed reflective strips along the bottom of each step. But the problems continued. Those with suitcases couldn't manage, and parents with buggies found it difficult. The council were getting sued, the architectural firm getting sued, the building company getting sued. Everyone was suing everyone. The legal battles continued, and after more than a 5-year wait, they retrofitted this. So lovingly called the egg by locals, this pod was added to the side of the bridge at significant expense to enable those who needed it to get across. And it takes 20 minutes to get from one side to the other. Funny thing is, a business actually developed from this problem. So local kids would wait at one side of the bridge and charge people €1 to carry their suitcases across. Now, I'm not telling you this story to scare you into thinking, God, are my facilities good enough? Rather, I'm using this story to highlight the fact that accessibility affects all of us. There are 1 billion people globally with accessibility needs. 1 billion people. Accessible tourism is the fastest growing, yet most underserved market in the tourism industry. But let's address a slightly more closer to home, for me anyway, segment of this market. I had an accident 16 years ago after I fell from a hay bale and broke my neck. I was a carefree 18-year-old with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And in an instant, it felt like many of those doors had been slammed shut in front of my face. I remember one of the early days in the hospital when a nurse who was looking after me smuggled in a brochure for a treatment facility in the US. I cannot tell you the rapture I felt just knowing that hope was available. In that moment, just being any part of this world mattered more to me than whether I lived or died. That little brochure packed all the inspiration I needed to both try to live and to be okay, even if things didn't work out. And it's been the catalyst for my life since. You see, information empowers. Since that accident, I've gone on to get an honours business degree. I've helped change government legislation at the top level. I've helped to secure more than €4 million to reshape the accessible taxi landscape in Ireland. I've become a United Nations certified accessibility expert, along with Noel, our co-founder, who's helping me with the clicker today. I've traveled the world, and all while paralyzed from the neck down. The reality is that this incredible world we live in was still available to me. I'd just been viewing things in the wrong way initially. I now realized that I needed to plan much more vigilantly when traveling. But after entering this new world, I could see so much unnecessary friction in a deeply broken process, and a huge opportunity being missed by almost every hospitality provider in the world. You see, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Many people with accessibility needs still have this viewpoint that the door is still shut to them. And I know that's not the case. Everyone has different levels of needs, and the world is made up of a complex pyramid of facilities that cater for everyone at some level. We just need to inform people properly. So with my business hat on, let me give you an example of the impact my custom had on a business. And bear in mind, a wheelchair user is only a small percentage of the much larger accessible tourism market. Earlier this year, I was planning a trip to Hamburg with some friends. And to give you some insight, as a wheelchair user, planning a trip is filled with multiple booby traps and potential potholes. And these wheels don't handle potholes very well. So I started where I think most of us start, your Booking.coms, your TripAdvisors, your Expedias, to try to get an understanding of the hotels in Hamburg. And great, it gave me that. Next, I needed to try to figure out the level of accessibility of these hotels and which would be more suitable for my needs. But this is where I began to struggle. Sure, I could sort of filter for accessible hotel, but what does that actually mean? What is accessible? There's so many different standards, different regulations, different perspectives across the world that from past bad experiences, just seeing that little wheelchair symbol didn't exactly fill me with confidence. So I phoned the hotel and I asked them, do you have a fully accessible bedroom? To which they said yes. So I said, great. So then I asked, do you have this, this, and this in the bedroom? And after going off to check, they came back with another yes. So I said, great, I'll book that. Now, on the face of it, that hotel got one booking because they had that one accessible bedroom. There was a lot of friction in the process for both myself and the hotel having to find that information, but that's just the way things are at the moment. I had looked at a number of other hotels who maybe had the facilities I needed, but they had no information on their website about that, so why bother? The reality was that because that hotel had that one accessible bedroom, not only did they get my business, but they got the business of 22 other people who were traveling in the group with me. Often when we think about that one accessible bedroom, we think about it in isolation. And that's just scratching the surface. Let me give you some facts. So I told you earlier about the 1 billion people. Well, now I'm going to show you the business opportunity for this market. By 2020, 25% of the total tourism market will be made up of those with higher access needs. 25% of the total tourism market. And that's because of our aging population. 100 million seniors in Europe. In the US, baby boomers are turning 65 at a rate of 10,000 a day for the next 18 years. There's a silver tsunami coming. Someone with accessibility needs stays longer on average, 3.3 nights compared to 2.9, and spends more, £210 compared to 191. But not only that, most people with accessibility needs generally travel with family, with friends, and wider groups. And more often than not, that one individual is the determining factor for where the whole group goes, where a wedding takes place, or where a conference for more than 1,000 people happens. Skift had to consider a good level of accessibility for the event today because of the makeup of the different needs of everyone here. We work with hotel groups, and what we found is, up to now, hotels, they viewed their accessibility as a compliance thing or a regulatory thing, rather than seeing it for what it is, an asset. One of the most underutilized assets a hotel has. You should be earning a return on your investment in accessibility. The same way you do with Wi-Fi or with a gym or a swimming pool. You spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands on this, and yet rarely mention it. I remember accessibility affects all of us. Take Brian. He stresses when planning a trip with his family, including his elderly mother, who can't walk very far. He just wants to know whether there's 2 or 20 steps up to the front of the hotel. Or Kate, who's just had a baby and needs to know whether she'll have to fold her buggy up to get into the coffee shop. Simple things make a big difference. A remote control. Do you know how many hotels keep the remote control either on top of the TV or the opposite side of the room to the bed? Now imagine that's your elderly mother or father with a bad hip or a bad knee who have to struggle out of bed for that trivial task. That's accessibility. I see many of you wearing glasses here today. Ever forgotten your glasses when you're out at a restaurant? Many restaurants offer a menu in larger print. That's accessibility. Accessibility affects all of us. Those 2 simple things cost practically nothing to implement, and yet make a big difference on the customer experience. So much of this comes down to loving our customers and to placing a value on that customer experience. But, and it's a big but, EU studies show that more than 50% of people with accessibility needs won't travel because of a lack of information and a fear of something going wrong. That's more than 500 million people globally. For most people with accessibility needs, the scariest thing about traveling isn't the organizing, it's the uncertainty, the black hole of not knowing what to expect. It's a key distinction. In the US, accessible bedrooms are the second most searched amenity after Wi-Fi, and yet have the least amount of information. Imagine how many untaken trips, unseen cities, many lost friendships and love, and how many missed business opportunities because we fail to fully inform. The good news is we can change things. We can do something about this. How we travel is indeed something we can affect. By making the system sensitive to this information, like the width of a door or the height of a bed, this stuff isn't rocket science. And there's no need for any hotel to be in any way afraid of it. It's also okay to not have the most perfect facilities. We get that. Everyone has different levels of needs. And by providing information on what you do have, you provide confidence, you provide reassurance, you provide life experiences. Imagine the ripples of this notion for the millions of people with accessibility needs. And that's why it's so exciting to be here at Skift, as each of you are the influencers and the decision makers. The primary message I have is that all of you represent enormous potential, an enormous possibility for change, because we know that a fully informed world not only impacts on more than 1 billion people around the globe, but it also creates a much better customer experience while increasing your bottom line. All across the world, people with accessibility needs, their lives are filled with uncertainty, and you can do something about that to allow life itself to play out and to give confidence to those who no longer want to have travel regrets. So whether it's Mobility Mojo or any other expert service provider, you find that can help you with this. I'm not here to talk to you about that. All that we're asking is that you join in. Parts of me died early on in that accident, and I think that's something we can all say in one way or another. I got to redesign my life around that fact, and I can tell you it's been a liberation to realize you can always find a shock of beauty or meaning in what life you have left. Like that brochure, lasting for a perfect moment, all the while giving hope. You see, information empowers. I believe in humanity. I believe humanity is endlessly striving for progress, pushing the dial forward to create a better world for everyone. It's just in us. It's what we do. It's human nature. I believe that when we look back at the end of our lives, the only real measure we can use to judge how well we've done is by three things. Have I loved enough? Have I laughed enough? And have I made a difference? The hospitality industry embodies these three qualities. People travel for love. They travel for laughs. They travel for life. You see, deep down, everyone is open to this world. We just want to make sure that the world is open to everyone. Thank you.